the final minute. Bennett for the pocket. Lost it to the end zone. Touchdown. A.D. Mitchell.
Chase McGrath for the win for the Volunteers. From 40. On the way, knuckleball. He got it.
How is everybody doing? I am Colin Bashnagel, Bash the CFB show on TikTok, and Bash CFB or Bash underscore CFB pretty much, or Bash CFB show pretty much anywhere you look. But Colin Bashnagel is my name, and you will see me under that name if you go over to College Football Universe on Facebook. I would encourage you guys to join because opinion plus discussion equals community. We all give opinions out there. We all discuss everything about college football. And it's a big old community out there. And that's what I'm trying to turn this channel into. That's what I'm trying to turn the TikTok into. So speaking of that TikTok, it's Bash the CFB show. Just look it up and you'll find it. It's the most active account I have. Also plan on being more active, and I have been more active, but still need to be more active on Twitter or X. It's formerly Twitter, I guess. So it's X, formerly Twitter. At Bash underscore CFB is where you can find me. And then Bash underscore CFB is where you can find me on Twitch. So look me up on Twitch, because if you want to see the live streamed version of it, we can have some discussion both during the live and then after or before the live. And we can end up getting it posted on YouTube the way that we want to. And if you want to get a comment in there and something out there for everybody to see, you have the chance to do that. So hopefully you guys are able to come in and enjoy the video and comment down below. Give me your opinions. Give me a discussion to have, and like and subscribe. Of course, I'm going to promote this because it's pretty simple. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe, because that helps me as far as reaching more people. And even if you don't want to subscribe, if you just like the video, which pays you nothing, like it costs you nothing to like the video, that's going to drive the attention a whole lot more. YouTube is going to be able to carry that algorithm closer to me and be able to have more people find me. So for me to be able to grow, I would appreciate it if you guys helped with clicking that like button. All right, we're going to get straight into these games, and we're going to start with a Friday night football game, and not that game. I started and I had to restart because Ruger was in the background, the dog, and I just wanted to get him out of here because he was smelling around doing whatever he's doing. He's a curious dog, interesting personality there. But we got number 15, Utah, on the road at number 19, Oregon State. Now I have a hard time seeing Oregon State or Utah consistently move the ball. Even if Cam Rising does play, which is still questionable, just like it was last week, I don't know if he's going to be 100% ready to go. This Oregon State defense did look a little bit vulnerable last week at Washington State, but that was also against more of an air attack game. This is going to be more of 12 personnel and not receivers that can threaten you the way that Washington State has it, and also a quarterback who can sling it, because even if Cam Rising is back, I don't trust that he's going to be back to the same old Cam Rising that we know. Now, on the flip side, Oregon State, are they going to be able to run the ball on Utah? Well, they're going to have to figure out a way to run the ball on Utah for them to open up the pass game, because if they can do that at least at 3-4 yards a carry and be able to commit to the run, even if it's not the most successful run game, if they're able to commit to it, play field position battle with Utah, they can catch them with some play action, and they can also catch them with some quick game. They spread it out a little bit more this year with DJ Uiagalelei running that offense, and I think that Oregon State's offense is just a tick better than Utah's, and quite a bit better actually than Utah's, and I think their explosive ability trying to come back in that Washington State game was on display. They have momentum. This is the biggest game in Oregon State's program in a very long time at home, because keep in mind last year their two biggest games were Oregon and Washington, both of them on the road. They split it 1-1 or 1-1 in that setting, and just because they're coming off a loss doesn't mean this team does not have hype. The Oregon State student base is going to be here. It's going to be a super tough place to play in Corvallis, Oregon. Weather report, not fully aware of that, but regardless, I'm going to take Oregon State to win this one, 20-17, low-scoring battle here. But at the end of the day, I think Oregon State gets it done. All right, we're going to go to noon. It is stupid that we have a Los Angeles team playing at noon and a 10 a.m. local kick, but that's what we have between Colorado and Deion Sanders taking on USC, Caleb Williams, and that offense. The biggest question I'm going to have in this game, especially when it comes to the USC minus 21.5 on that spread, is how's USC's defense going to do? They were terrible against the run game, but they've been pretty decent against the pass. Now, a stat that's been floated out there is the fact that this defense is really disruptive. Leaders in tackles for loss, leaders in sacks, and getting turnovers. The problem is they were doing the same thing last year, and they've also played inferior competition like nobody's business. The best team they've played so far is honestly San Jose State. Yeah, you can look at San Jose State and say that they are better than Arizona State, Stanford, and certainly Nevada. And at the end of the day, them dominating those teams and causing a lot of disruption for those teams, that's a good thing. The problem I have is what San Jose State was able to do with a mobile quarterback and also a quarterback that can throw it and then can run it in a run game that had success. And then what Arizona State was also able to do on the ground is concerning to me. Colorado, though, is not capable of exploiting that part of it on the ground because of the fact that they just cannot run the ball. They are not strong enough at the line of scrimmage. There will be disruption by the USC defense in this game, but there will also be some gaffes and some big plays that Colorado hits. I don't know about the over. I don't know about the spread. If I had to guess, USC is going to win this thing something like 59-20. So I guess that covers, or no, it's like, yeah, it definitely covers. Sorry. I was thinking it was way bigger than it actually was. USC wins this game comfortably, but Colorado gives more people a blueprint of what to do. I would be a little bit surprised if Colorado keeps it competitive, but hey, I'm rooting for that. I know a lot of people are kind of turning on Deion Sanders after last week with Oregon. Hey, at the end of the day, I think they're built on substance, unlike what Lanning said. But the problem is right now they are only getting the attention because of their, like, if they did not have Deion Sanders, but the exact same, or sorry, if Deion Sanders did not have the cachet that he does, Colorado wouldn't be ranked last week. Colorado wouldn't be getting this national television attention. But that's what they're getting, and they were a good team because of it. They're just an okay team. They're not there yet. So USC wins comfortably. Florida at Kentucky. Big game for both teams. So Kentucky here has a chance. It's an AP poll ranked team with Florida. I do not have them ranked, but Kentucky has a chance here at home to be able to make a statement and be like, yo, like the SEC East, that second place spot is wide open, and being able to contend with Georgia is not as far-fetched as it had been the past 2 years in the SEC East. We can make a statement right here, and by making a statement, what they need to do is shut down the run game that Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne have going. Now, Graham Mertz has been really efficient. I cannot trust that he's actually going to turn the ball over, complete opposite of what he was at Wisconsin. So the big key for Kentucky's defense is to shut down that run game. But on the offensive side of the ball, what I really like about Kentucky is the fact that they still have their Kentucky identity. They're able to run the ball, but they have the deepest receiving core that they have with guys like Dane Key and also Barry and Brown and others as well. That they go really deep at the wide receiver core. It's the best core that they have had since Mark Stoops got there. At the end of the day, I think Kentucky wins this game. I think they're the better team. I think Florida's kind of a fraudulent team that a lot of people are putting a lot of stock into that Tennessee win. And might I remind you what happened when Florida beat Utah last year? They vaulted into the rankings. They got a lot of hype, and Kentucky, their defense locked them down. I'm curious to see if they do the same thing, but they have the home field advantage here, and Kroger Field has their first big game, and Kentucky has their first big game of the year. I mean, that one conference victory was against Vanderbilt on the road in a construction zone. So I think that Kentucky is going to come out here ready to make a statement. I think Kentucky wins this game for sure. Texas A&M versus Arkansas. Just got confirmation earlier today that Connor Wakeman is out for the year. That's a bummer to me because I'm really high on Connor Wakeman. But his replacement, Max Johnson, at least has starting experience in the SEC. And you also have a lot of talent around you. That's good. The run game seems to be catching on a little bit, but also the pass game is still has a lot of talent. Now, Auburn was able to hold them in check, but the problem is Auburn isn't Arkansas. But this game is always close. I think Arkansas is going to find a way to cover at the end of the day. I think that Texas A&M wins this game by a score of like 35-31 or something like that, and it's a crazy game. But I think Texas A&M is the better team, even with the backup quarterback Max Johnson in the game. Arkansas's offense is going to be able to move the ball, yeah, but I mean, and they could easily win this game, but I just do not trust that defense at Arkansas. So I'm going to take Texas A&M to win because I believe they are the better team. Clemson, I went with kind of a different logo because I wanted to go with the purple theme for Clemson. Why? Are they wearing purple? No, it's because Syracuse is the orange men. So Clemson on the road at Syracuse, the team I have ranked number 21, yet to play a conference game, though. So what have they done? Well, they beat the crap out of Colgate and Western Michigan. They should do that. But doing what they did, going on the road to Purdue and controlling the pace of that game the entire way through, very impressive to me. And then also, this Syracuse team, what they were able to do last week against Army goes under the radar. But the fact of the matter is they got punched in the face. And Army, their triple option attacks seemed like something that Syracuse wasn't prepared for. Because if you guys have watched Army this year, they're doing that spread triple option that's completely different than even what Willie Fritz was doing in his heyday with Jonathan Banks, I think was his name, the quarterback back in like 2019 at Tulane, who was running that spread option really well. Well, guess what? Army's even doing that differently. Like, this is the most unique spread offense that I have ever seen out of the using the triple option, and Syracuse caught on to it after allowing a touchdown drive and dominated Army the rest of the way through. Like, this is a really good Syracuse team. They're very well coached. They have an experienced quarterback, a good wide receiver core. This is a dangerous game for Clemson on the road, and you cannot afford to drop the 2-3 here. You know how many people, and I apologize, by the way, it says 0-1. Clemson is 0-2 in conference play. They cannot lose another game. They are officially eliminated to me if they lose another game, just because the tiebreakers of Duke and Florida State go to those two teams. And those are the two teams that are probably going to finish with 2 losses or less. You could also see North Carolina or Miami do it. But at the end of the day, Syracuse is one of those teams that definitely could do it. Syracuse and Louisville are two teams that kind of got a little bit of a better draw when it comes to the conference schedule. And also Syracuse, they have a confident start. I think they should and need to win this game. I mean, they had Clemson on the ropes last year. And yeah, they replaced a good bit in their secondary. But I think that they're going to have to try and make this a gross game for Clemson's offense yet again. I think Clemson gets right. I am definitely not taking a minus 6.5. In fact, I like Syracuse plus 6.5, but I'm going to take Clemson to win this game in a similar fashion as last year, 27-23. I'm taking the Clemson Tigers to beat Syracuse. But that goes against what I want to say. At the end of the day, I really want to say Syracuse is going to win this game. And I kind of think Syracuse is a better team, but I need to see proof of it more than just the Purdue game and more than just what they did against Army last week. I'm going to go with Clemson. I hope Syracuse proves me wrong. Georgia, Auburn, oldest rivalry in the South right here. We got a big one because this is going to be the first road game for Carson Beck as the starter. And he had kind of struggled out the gates. This Auburn defense had played really well, but the problem is this Auburn offense, I know it's a Hugh Freeze offense, but they have really struggled throughout the course of the first couple of games. Like, they struggled on the road at Cal, and they really struggled to score against the Texas A&M defense that got lit up against Miami just a couple weeks prior. This Georgia team should have no problem shutting down the Auburn attack, and even if the offense is slow for Georgia, they're going to get going. But I think that behind the name of Dejon Edwards, Georgia is finding their run game. They're finding their old identity. The question is going to be, how much does Mike Bobo allow for that identity to continue? Overall, I got Georgia winning this game and covering. I got Georgia winning 38-7. This game should not be close. Jordan Hare should not be a tough place for Georgia to go and play, but we'll see. We've seen it be tough before. Michigan, number 3 in the country, on the road at Nebraska. Nebraska has the defense to muck this up. There's a reason why this over-under is 39, but you could see this game going so similarly. The difference is, of course, Nebraska is home, and you're going to have 93,000 strong in that stadium, in Memorial Stadium. So that's where it could be a little bit tougher. but I have not seen a pulse from this Nebraska offense. They look terrible again last week against Louisiana Tech. They looked bad against Minnesota. They looked bad against Colorado. I don't think Nebraska is a very good team at all. I don't think they're capable of this upset. If I lean one way, Michigan covers to me. And I think this is similar to what Penn State and Iowa had going last week. I'm going to take Michigan to win this game probably about 34-3. Like, I think that Michigan covers this pretty easily and wins the game for sure. I just don't know how many points Michigan's going to be able to score on this Nebraska defense, but I think they wear this Nebraska defense down the same way that they wore Rutgers down last week. The only difference is I think Rutgers was more optimistic going into the game than the Nebraska players and coaching staff. Number 24, Kansas on the road at number 4, Texas. This is a big game for both teams. The spread has moved a ton between like 16.5 and 18, and I just don't know what to expect from this game. But the bottom line is this. When I look at this Kansas Jayhawks team, they have an offense that can absolutely test the Texas secondary, and we're going to learn a lot about Texas in this game. They also have a secondary that could cause problems for Quinn Ewers. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing is ugly and Kansas is in this game and the score ends up being something like 27-24, and that is going to be my prediction. Texas wins 27-24. I think they're the better team. The more talented team should win this game. I've been super high on Kansas. I would love to see Kansas win because I placed an over on Kansas, I think at 5.5 wins. They just need 2 wins to do it, but this isn't one that I was counting on in the preseason. I think that Texas wins this game, but I think it's close. I think Kansas covers. I think Kansas gives them problems because I think Texas, though they are a really good team and though they should be the favorite in the Big 12, I think Kansas is going to be able to expose that. There's a little bit of chink in the armor in Austin, Texas. But the home field advantage does worry me a little bit when it comes to playing this game. So we'll see if that's a part of walk that line or not. That was definitely a part of the consideration because I could see Texas losing this game outright. But I could also see them winning this by 30 or 40 points. Let's be real. Number 12, LSU at number 23, Ole Miss. A big revenge spot, huge on Ole Miss's offense, not huge on LSU's defense, but big on how these wide receivers have played for LSU. This is going to be a high-scoring game. The over might just hit over 67.5. I think that both these teams are capable of scoring. Jackson Dart really looking for some redemption. He didn't necessarily have the greatest game against Alabama, but he also didn't play that poorly, and he played with some guts. A lot of people are talking about how Ole Miss is in the SEC West race. The problem is to me, they are de facto, though it's not a done deal, they are basically 3 games behind Alabama because they have a road trip to Georgia coming up. But I still think Ole Miss is playing for something, and this is a big revenge spot where Ole Miss jumped out to a 17-3 lead last year and ended up losing the game 45-20. It was absolutely absurd because they went into Death Valley and gave them everything they had and then just laid an egg in the second half. The key to this game is going to be, can Ole Miss get the run game going? Because I know LSU cannot. And if Ole Miss's defense is able to commit all their resources to the pass game and just be able to contain that quarterback run game with Jaden Daniels, they can win in a shootout here. I'm going to take Ole Miss to win this one, 45-42. I'm back and forth on this, though. Don't play this. If you play anything, play the over, but even the over at 67.5 is still a little bit risky. I don't like playing high over-unders like that when I'm taking the over especially. Just don't do it. All right, I'll take a sip of water as we get into the nighttime slate. Saturday night, we got Troy on the road at Georgia State. This is a very interesting game because Troy starts out 0-1 in conference play against James Madison, the defending Sun Belt champs right there, playing against the Georgia State team who is the surprise of the Sun Belt so far. You saw that Sean Elliott was on the hot seat, and yet Darren Granger and this offense have been absolutely clicking, albeit not against great competition. But the statement that they made when all of the college football world had their attention on Myrtle Beach in Conway, South Carolina, with that Georgia State game, and Georgia State pretty much lit them up and did not have a concern against Coastal Carolina. This is a better defense. This is a run game that can get going with Kamani Vidal. And then Gunnar Watson had a big bounce back last week against Western Kentucky, who is a pretty solid team. Like, I think Troy found their groove, and I think Troy's going to win this game. I think that run game specifically is what kills Georgia State in this one, but Who knows what could end up happening at the end of the day? This is a road game. This is Sunbelt action. This is one that I think if you have ESPN Plus, get it on a screen. Like what I'm going to be doing is while I'm watching the other games in the primetime slate over here, this computer that I am live streaming on is going to have the Troy, Georgia State game on that I am going to just be watching the entire time. I love this Troy team, though, to get the win on the road and pull off a little bit of an upset. This is the primetime spot. This is Duke hosting a primetime game yet again and getting game day. And Notre Dame getting it for a second consecutive week. Are they going to go 0-2 here? Here's the biggest thing that I want to highlight with this. Number one, we have not seen Notre Dame tested against an athletic quarterback like Riley Leonard. Brennan Armstrong is a decent athlete who's really willing to run, but they don't necessarily call a ton in that Robert and I system. They don't call a ton of design quarterback runs. There's a lot of improvisation for Brennan Armstrong. And he almost was able to get loose a couple of times on Notre Dame. So that's one thing that worries me is how good will they be? But at the end of the day, I trust that their linebackers are really good. Maris Leofau did not have the best game he could have had against Ohio State. And the other thing about it, too, is they got a couple of other guys in Kaiser and Bertrand who are anchors there, who are athletic and are able to chase down Riley Leonard. But we've seen some crazy things that Riley Leonard has been able to do. So I'm watching Javonte Jean-Baptiste. I'm watching Jordan Botelho as a couple of players to cause a lot of disruption and potentially hold that contain of the mobile quarterback Riley Leonard while Howard Cross eats up in the middle for this Notre Dame team. That is going to be crucial. Duke's going to be able to run the ball. Riley Leonard, not the best passer in the world. They also have a good run game from their running backs too. So this isn't a Duke offense that's going to be anemic without Riley Leonard's run game. But I don't think that they win this game without Riley Leonard going off with his legs and through the air playing one of his best games of his career. And the biggest reason why I think that much pressure is on Riley Leonard in this offense is because though Duke has an experienced defense and they're pretty solid, I don't think they're physically going to be able to handle up front what you have with running backs getting yards after contact, specifically Audric Estime getting yards after contact. I think that Notre Dame should be able to run for about 5-6 yards per carry. I think they get back to their running ways that they started to kind of catch glimpses of against Ohio State, but they were not able to sustain it against Ohio State. I think you could see some sustainability. I'm going to take Notre Dame to win this game, and I think they're going to dominate, and I think they're going to make a statement. Now, if they find themselves in a dogfight or they lose this game and they look kind of, like loose or not necessarily fully enthralled into the game or invested in the game, poor coaching job by Marcus Freeman and the staff getting them back up and ready. But I'm going to trust that they learned their lesson after Marshall last year. They're going to come out guns blazing with game day here and knowing that everything's still in front of them and they just have no margin for error and they're going to play motivated. I think Notre Dame wins 34-7. I don't think this game's close. That might be a crazy prediction. I think Duke's really good team. I think they're still a top 25 team, even if that result happens. But I think Notre Dame's just a much better team, much more physical, and they're more motivated. I think Duke has not punched or has not faced a punch like Notre Dame is willing to give them, even from Clemson, who, by the way, had a lot of opportunities with the run game to finish drives off, and they just kept turning the ball over and missing field goals. And that's how Clemson lost that game. But Clemson moved the ball, and Clemson moved the ball better. And Dabo Swinney talked about how weird that game is. I don't think that's sustainable. I don't think that's going to work against Notre Dame. South Carolina on the road at Tennessee. And this is going to be an interesting matchup here for Tennessee to kind of try to get the revenge spot. A little shocking that they are -12, but those fans at Rocky Top are going to be going crazy looking for that revenge on Spencer Rattler. And he's also going to be running for his life the entire night. I have a hard time thinking that they're going to be able to protect him. But because of what happened last year, and if there is a potential matchup that South Carolina can exploit, I know that Marcus Satterfield is gone, but if somebody is able to find that matchup to exploit for Tennessee, then South Carolina could win this game. So I wouldn't play this, but I think Tennessee wins this, and I think they win it comfortably. Home field advantage, a defense that looks improved, and an offense with a statement to prove against a South Carolina team who I still think is pretty overrated. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Tennessee Volunteers in this one, and I'm going to go with a score of about 41-17. I don't think it's relatively close, but I would love to see a close game here. It would be very interesting to me if we do. All right, this is the second 2 out of 2 right here when it comes to G5 games. I'm at least going to give you 2 G5 games a week, talk about the biggest ones, and this one is by far the biggest to me because San Diego State is trying to prove that, hey, we still have a legit defense. We can still go. But the main reason I want to talk about this is because of Air Force. Nobody's talking about Air Force right now. A lot of people are starting to come around on Fresno State, but Fresno State's had a little bit more opportunity to expose it, right? They played 2 Power 5 teams. They beat Purdue on the road during a noon slate, I believe. That was pretty loaded, but that was a thrilling game. Maybe that was a 3:30 slate. I can't remember, but it was a very good game that went down to the wire that Fresno State ended up pulling out, and Fresno State's got a lot of hype as a result. Who doesn't have hype? Air Force, who has absolutely confronted every single challenge in front of them like it was nothing. I mean, you look at what they've done in conference play, starting off 2-0, beating the crap out of Utah State a couple of weeks ago on Friday night, where they had a little bit of a national spotlight. This Air Force team is really good. I'm taking Air Force to cover. I'm going to take them to win this game 27-7. I don't really think this game is going to ever be close, ever. But the reason why I'm highlighting this is because San Diego State's going to look to prove something. But I think Air Force is a G5 contender for the New Year's Six. Alabama on the road at Mississippi State. Here's my problem with this game, right? And I get Mike Leach is no longer there. Rest in peace. They're changing up their offense. It looks worse. It looks like it's less sustainable or less it just does not fit their personnel. I mean, that's just at the end of the day. It doesn't fit what Will Rogers does well. It doesn't fit what those receivers do well. And that's the bottom line. They do not look amazing on offense, but they've had moments. And they have experience. They have talent. And their defense has experience, has talent. But they haven't really played all that well. And I think Alabama absolutely dominates this game. I think that Alabama does what to Mississippi State, what they had been doing. I got Alabama winning this game 45-10. That's right. Alabama's going to put up 45 points. I think their offense is going to find their groove a little bit. Though I don't like Tommy Rees, it is Nick Saban after all. He's going to figure out some sort of plan. Washington on the road at Arizona. I believe this is the final game. It's a shame it's on the Pac-12 network. Thank goodness I have the ability to watch this, but I think that Arizona can give them a game. Now, this was a game. I'm going to spoil it. I did throw on my locks, but I am not going to bet against Washington at all this week after doing that against Cal. I mean, albeit I think Arizona's a better team who fits it better. Their secondary seems like it should be better. Their defense seems like it should be better. And they have the ability to throw the ball, something Cal could not really do. And Sam Jackson didn't even play in that game. So Washington, my number 2 team in the country, I think they win, but I think Arizona gives them a game. I'm going to go with a win 44-34. I think that this one's pretty tight for a while. Washington pulls away, and then Arizona makes a last-ditch effort and kind of gets a late cover, if you know what I mean. All right, Walk That Line is here. We got this is why it was very important for me to get this in tonight on Wednesday night. We got Western Kentucky -5.5. Lock that in. Right now it's up to 6.5. I think they make a big statement against Middle Tennessee. They're going to have to. Now, I don't like that it went up to 6.5, but if it's under a touchdown, take it because I think they win by at least a touchdown. Western Kentucky should be the much better team in this game. I'm going to take the Hilltoppers. Kentucky, -2.5. That's down to like -1.5 at this point or whatever. You can get Kentucky at better odds right now than what this is. So I'm probably going to do that. But I took it at -2.5. Take Kentucky to win this game. I love Kentucky to win this game. I think they have a big statement to prove against Florida, a team that they beat last year. Virginia, Boston College. Both these defenses have not looked good recently. Both these offenses are starting to find their groove, specifically Boston College's offense finding their groove. But I can see some points being thrown up there. I'm going to go with the over 54.5, hoping that I don't get disappointed by one of these lower level P5 games again. But that has been a trend this year. Georgia, -14.5. I think they dominate Auburn. I don't think that game's even close. Now, the one thing that does scare me, if you guys are paying attention to the bottom line ticker, you're seeing how many of these teams in the top 10 are on the road. Pretty much, if anybody's a top 10 team in my poll and they're playing this week, they're on the road. Now, some of them are like Penn State at Northwestern. I'm not too worried about that. Or even Alabama at Mississippi State. I'm not too worried about that. But That's the only thing that concerns me about like Georgia at Auburn. Oregon minus 27. They play at Stanford. Now, I almost took this off. In fact, for a brief time, I did take it off. But at the end of the day, I just don't think Stanford's up for it. But the one thing I'm going to caution you guys with is last time Oregon went to Stanford, they lost that game to Tanner McKee and that team. But this Stanford team is not good. Just losing to Sacramento State, they're just not good. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I can't sugarcoat it. I can't imagine that they hold Oregon under 50 if Oregon feels like they need to score 50. And I feel like Oregon feels like they're going to need to win this game by 4 touchdowns or more. And I think they're going to do that. I think mission's going to be accomplished for Dan Lanning's squad. The biggest thing is don't have a hangover off of Colorado. But let's be honest, when you blow out a team like that, you should be off at halftime ready for that next game, some of you at least, because those starters are getting taken out of the game. Indiana, Maryland. I'm taking the under 50.5. I can't see a path where Indiana scores points in this game. Their offense has been so hit or miss. But then also you got Maryland, whose offense has also been very hit or miss. Their run game is really good. The clock rules are going to come into effect. I think Indiana has kind of gone back to that triple option look. And even though Indiana kind of put up points against Akron and allowed points against Akron, I still think that Maryland is not going to score a ton, and this is going to be a respectable game, and I think this holds under 50.5. I'm hoping I'm right with that. Rice, -3. They're playing against East Carolina. If you can get it at 3, get it at 3, so at the very least you get a push here, but I think Rice is a better team. I think they're at home. They should have no problem beating East Carolina, who is maybe a little bit overrated because of how solid they were last year. I know Vegas will account for the fact that they are not as good as last year's team, but Rice is a little bit better and a little bit more secure. How about Notre Dame -5.5? I talked about that. I said 34-7. I think that Notre Dame should be able to go on the road and absolutely dominate that game. Hopefully they do, because we have a record to improve. 28-33-1 is not good. Just letting you guys know. So we got to do better. I could just lie to you and say I'm 28-33 with 1 push, but no, that's not it. That's not it. Charlotte, +24. They're playing against SMU. Their defense played really stingy against Florida. And also, I think Charlotte's got a pretty decent squad. They had the lead, I think, at halftime against Maryland as well. I think they keep it close. And Buff Poggi, he's got a good squad here. And they're kind of redeeming themselves off of last year's performance. Air Force, -10.5. I think they dominate that game. I don't think San Diego State's defense is as good as it has been, and that's why this number is probably as low as it is. I think Air Force can put up 30-plus points, and I cannot imagine that San Diego State puts up any more than, let's say, 14 points. Alabama, -14. They're a much better team. That's the bottom line. They're a much better team than Mississippi State. Their defense at Mississippi State is just not all that good. They should have no problem winning this game by more than 14. Arizona, over 24. I'm going to take them over 24. If you can get this at 24, do it. There was a 24.5 +100 type of thing, but I wanted to take an alt here with about a -120 type of odd for over 24. So that's why I'm getting Arizona at right now. So if you can get it at 24, I like that a little bit better. Just in case of a push, let's say it's 52-24 or something. But I think Arizona, as you heard, puts up points, serious points against Washington. And by the way, it's a road game in the desert, like in Tucson there. After dark, that's always weird to see a Pac-12 team go into a place like Tempe or Tucson and get a win. I think though Washington is going to win, I think they should be on upset watch, and I was not comfortable with locking up the spread, but I am comfortable with saying Arizona is going to put up points. Alabama, over 30.5, and this is our last slide right here. Alabama's offense is going to have redemption and light it up. Notre Dame, over 29.5. Less convinced of this, but I love the run game that Notre Dame has, and I think they're going to be able to hit at least 30 points in this game. Oregon, over 44.5. Yeah, I'm playing all these overs right here. Oregon's going to light up Stanford like it's nobody's business. I expect 50-plus points for the Oregon Ducks. Georgia, over 30.5. I expect that, again, their offense is going to be able to put up points, and they're going to have a statement to prove. The run game just keeps getting better. I think Georgia's going to try to dominate their rival. If you guys didn't see it, here's a quick glimpse of my top 25. But, of course, I have the top 25 video released in my last one, and then I also have a TikTok release with it. So with that being said, if you guys like what I have here today, let me know down in the comment section below. If you don't like, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Make sure you guys have a great day, and we'll see you guys next time. Enjoy your college football this weekend.